The children were laughing near the school playground when the scream tore through the air, "Please don't hurt her." But Karen's hand didn't stop trembling as she held the gun pointed at the frightened black girl standing beside the swings. The other kids froze, teachers froze, even the wind seemed to stop. Then bang! The shot echoed through the entire neighborhood. A little girl collapsed, and Karen, breathing heavily, wild-eyed, whispered, "I warned her. I warned all of them." Seconds later, red and blue lights exploded across the playground, tires screeched, and officers jumped out with weapons drawn. "Karen Johnson, drop the weapon now." Hey, everyone, before we dive into this heartbreaking story, I want to know something important from you. Which city are you watching from right now? Drop your city name in the comments. I love seeing how far this channel reaches across the entire USA. And before we start, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a story that opens eyes, heals hearts, and exposes the truth. Now let's begin. This story isn't just a tragedy. It's a lesson about courage, justice, and the strength of a little black girl who refused to be silenced. Her name is Araya, a shy 10-year-old who loved the swings, Sunday choir, and drawing rainbows on the corners of her notebooks. She had never harmed anyone. Never spoken badly about anyone. She was just a child, your average, sweet, innocent child. But one woman, one HOA member with too much power and too much hatred in her heart turned a normal school day into a nightmare. Karen wasn't just controlling. She wasn't just rude. She wasn't just the type who measured grass height or complained about kids laughing. She had a darkness in her that nobody saw coming. A darkness that would explode on a playground full of children, all caught on camera and witnessed by over 50 families who would never forget what happened that day. This is Araya's story, and it starts on a Friday morning that should have been ordinary, but turned into something no parent should ever experience. It was the kind of morning that made the whole town feel alive: golden sunlight, soft breeze, and the joyful chaos of kids running toward the school gates with backpacks bouncing behind them. Parents chatted by their cars, teachers held coffee cups, and the sound of sneakers hitting pavement echoed like a happy rhythm through the neighborhood. Araya walked beside her mother, holding her little pink notebook against her chest. She was always quiet in the mornings, always observing the world with wide, curious eyes. Today, though, something felt heavy in her steps. "Mom," she whispered, "can I stay close to the playground gate today?" Her mother paused. "Why, sweetheart? Did someone say something to you?" Araya shook her head quickly. "No, just a feeling." Kids have instincts adults often forget to respect. Her mother nodded and kissed her forehead. "Okay, stay near the gate until the bell rings. I'll watch you from the car." Araya smiled softly and ran toward the swing set. But across the street, hiding behind her tinted car window, Karen watched too. Her jaw clenched. Her eyes narrowed. Her hands drummed angrily on the steering wheel. There she is again. That girl. That troublemaker. At least in Karen's twisted imagination. Karen believed she owned this neighborhood. She believed everyone should obey her. And she believed children, especially certain children, should stay quiet, stay small, stay invisible. Arya's laughter bothered her. Her confidence bothered her. Even her happiness bothered her. "Kids like her," Karen muttered, "they ruin everything." Inside the school playground, Araya felt a strange prickling at the back of her neck, like someone staring at her. She looked up and froze. Karen was standing across the street now, not smiling, not blinking, just watching. Araya swallowed. Her heart thudded. She looked around. Kids were laughing. Teachers were distracted. Nobody noticed the woman glaring like a storm cloud. Then the crossing guard waved at Karen politely. She didn't wave back. Instead, Karen stepped off the curb. Slow, deliberate, focused. Araya's small hands tightened around the swing chains. Her lips parted. She wanted to call her mother, but her mother was now driving away through the drop-off lane. The school bell rang in the distance. Kids started heading inside. But Araya stayed frozen on the swing. A shadow fell over her. "Karen." Araya looked up, her voice trembling. "Miss, Do you need something? Karen leaned in close, too close, her voice like ice melting into poison. You need to understand something, she hissed. Kids like you don't belong here. You people think you're special. But this neighborhood has rules. My rules. Araya blinked, confused and scared. I didn't do anything. Karen's eye twitched. You exist, and that's enough. Before Araya could move, Karen grabbed the swing chain, stopping it abruptly. The metal jerk made the girl flinch. Don't talk back, Karen whispered. I've had enough of your kind breaking rules. Enough noise. Enough attitude. Enough excuses. Araya's eyes filled with tears. I just came to play. Karen's hand tightened on the chain like a threat. Araya pulled away, her instinct screaming danger. At that exact moment, a teacher shouted from across the playground, Karen, you're not allowed here during school hours. Karen let go of the swing chain and took one step back, pretending innocence, but the fury didn't leave her eyes. You'll see, Karen muttered under her breath. I warned her. I warned all of them. The teacher guided Araya inside. Araya looked back, once more. Karen was still staring, still plotting, still simmering. And by lunchtime that simmering would explode, because Karen didn't go home. She didn't leave the neighborhood. She stayed, watching, waiting, planning the moment she would snap. The school day moved forward like normal for everyone else, but not for Araya. She couldn't shake the memory of Karen's eyes boring into her like a threat waiting to unfold. She sat in class, quietly doodling rainbows and clouds in the margins of her notebook, but for the first time ever, her colors didn't shine. Her red was shaky, her yellow looked washed out, her blue felt heavy. Every time a shadow moved past the classroom door, she jumped. Every time someone raised their voice, even jokingly, she flinched. Even her best friend, Layla, noticed. You good, she whispered. Araya forced a smile. Yeah, just tired. Layla didn't believe her, but the teacher called them to line up for lunch. Kids laughed as they headed down the hall. But behind them, out of sight, a storm was brewing. Across the street from the school, in her parked car, Karen's breathing had grown louder, faster, almost animalistic. Her fingers tapped violently against her steering wheel. Her mind raced in circles, spiraling into a dark place she had been teetering on for months. This neighborhood is falling apart, she muttered. No one listens anymore. No one respects me. Her eyes twitched as she replayed Araya's small, frightened face. She stared at me. She disrespected me. In Karen's world, a child looking scared was attitude. A child pulling away was talking back. A child existing loudly was broken rules. Her twisted reasoning tightened like a fist around her brain. Then her phone buzzed. A message from the HOA group chat. And that was the final string snapping inside her. It wasn't anything directly about Araya. It was a complaint from another parent about teenagers skateboarding on the sidewalk. But Karen read it as a personal attack. She read everything as a personal attack. Oh, so now I'm the one who isn't doing enough? Her voice cracked with fury. They think I can't handle my job? They think these kids are going to walk all over me? She slammed her phone onto the passenger seat, her voice rising to a dangerous pitch. Not anymore. Not today. I will not be ignored. Inside her glove compartment was a small handgun she kept for safety. But safety was the last thing on her mind. She opened the compartment. Her hand hovered over the weapon. Her breath trembled. Then she grabbed it. Her fingers wrapped around the cold metal like it was the only thing giving her control back. She stared at the gun, and something dark flickered in her eyes, something irreversible. This time they'll listen, she whispered. This time they'll understand. Back inside the school, lunchtime filled the cafeteria with noise, kids shouting, trays clattering, teachers trying to maintain order. Araya ate at a small round table with Layla and two other girls. They were laughing about a TikTok dance, but even then, Araya kept glancing toward the windows. Layla nudged her. Seriously, what's up with you? You're acting like a ghost. Araya swallowed hard. Karen was outside this morning. Layla frowned. The HOA lady? The one who yelled at the bus driver last week? Yeah, she came to swing. She said I didn't belong here. Layla froze. What? Did you tell a teacher? I tried, but she left before anyone else saw. Layla clenched her fists. My mom says Karen is crazy. My mom told her last week to stop shouting at the neighborhood kids. Karen stared at her like she wanted to fight. Araya lowered her voice, and she grabbed the swing. Hard. She scared me. Layla's eyes softened. She placed a protective arm around her friend's shoulder. Next time, just run to me. Okay? You don't gotta face her alone. Araya nodded, comforted but still uneasy. Meanwhile, Karen was no longer in her car. She was walking across the school's front lawn, gun tucked under her jacket, eyes fixed on the cafeteria windows like a hunter watching prey through the trees. A security guard stepped in her way. Ma'am, you can't be here. School hours are restricted. Karen's lips curled. I'm on official HOA business. Even so, you need clearance. Oh, you think you can tell me? Listen here. He calmly held up a hand. Ma'am, you need to leave the property. Her face twisted with rage. Her voice dropped to a low growl. You're all the same. Protecting them. Ignoring me. She tried to move past him. He blocked her. Her rage boiled. Her hand twitched toward her jacket. But she stopped herself. Not yet. Not here. Not in front of security. She turned sharply and walked away, toward the back of the school, toward the playground, toward the one place she knew would soon be full of kids again. Recess was in 15 minutes, and she would be waiting. The bell finally rang, echoing through the halls like a drumbeat leading to doom. Kids grabbed jackets, balls, jump ropes. Teachers walked them outside in lines. The emptiness of the playground from the morning was now suddenly alive with the chaos of recess. Araya walked toward the swings again, her safe place, usually still uneasy but wanted to feel normal again. Layla walked with her. You okay now? Trying, Araya whispered. Then she saw it. A flash of blonde hair. Standing behind the maintenance shed, Karen. A cold shiver stabbed her chest. Layla followed her gaze. Her eyes widened. That's her. Araya's breath hitched. She grabbed Layla's wrist. Don't move. But Karen stepped out from behind the shed. Slow, focused, as if she had been waiting. She looked at Araya with a chilling calmness, not the frantic rage from earlier. This was worse. Much worse. She walked toward the swings with the same slow steps a storm takes before it breaks. Layla's voice trembled. We should go. But Araya couldn't move. Her feet were cement. Her fear was paralyzing. Karen stopped a few feet away, her eyes narrowing. You, again. Araya's lips quivered. Please, I didn't do anything. Karen took one step closer. You don't listen. None of you kids listen. None of your parents listen. I told you. I warned you. Layla shouted, back off. Karen's jaw twitched. She reached under her jacket. Araya froze. Layla gasped. The world seemed to slow. Karen's hand wrapped around the gun. She pulled it out, and for one horrifying second, the sun glinted off the metal. The children around them screamed. Teachers shouted. Kids began running in every direction. But Karen didn't care. Her eyes locked on Araya. Her fingers slid toward the trigger. This neighborhood, she whispered, will finally be quiet. And in that moment, the moment before everything shattered, Araya realized this woman wasn't unstable anymore. She was gone, broken beyond reason, beyond fear, beyond mercy, and she was about to do the unthinkable. Chaos erupted across the playground the instant Karen raised the gun. Children screamed and scattered like frightened birds. A kickball bounced across the asphalt, forgotten. Teachers shouted commands. Inside. Everyone inside now. Move. Move. But their voices were swallowed by the panic. Yet, in the center of the storm, Araya didn't move. Her legs wouldn't respond. Her breath was trapped in her chest. Every nightmare she'd ever had suddenly felt real, and none of them came close to the terror she was facing now. Karen took a slow step forward, the gun trembling in her hand. Not from hesitation, But anticipation. You should have listened, she hissed, her voice cracking with deranged certainty. I told you what happens when kids don't follow the rules. Layla grabbed Araya's arm, trying to pull her away. Run. Please, run. But Araya's knees buckled. Her vision blurred. Her ears rang with a hollow, high-pitched whine. She wasn't seeing the gun. She was seeing her mother's smile, her rainbow drawings, her choir teacher's praise, all the things she might never see again. Layla screamed again. Araya, get up. But Karen's finger curled around the trigger. A teacher sprinted toward them from the side, waving both arms. Karen, stop. Put the weapon down. But Karen didn't hear her. She didn't hear anything. Her mind was swallowed whole by the twisted belief that she was fixing the problem, that she was saving the neighborhood from kids like this. She raised her voice, shaking with fury and sick righteousness. You think you can ignore me? You think rules don't matter? Araya's lips trembled. I'm sorry. Karen's eyes widened. No, you're not. None of you ever are. Layla positioned herself halfway in front of Araya, spreading her arms like a shield, tiny, trembling, but fierce. You won't hurt her. Karen's face contorted. Her voice dropped to a chilling, deadly whisper. Move, or you'll be next. Layla froze. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She didn't move. Karen shifted her aim to shoot around her, and that split second of movement saved a life and changed everything. A loud shout rang from behind them. Get down. The gym teacher, Coach Ramirez, a former Marine, charged forward, slamming into Layla and Araya with his full weight, pushing them to the ground and covering them with his body. The gun fired. Bang! The sound echoed like an explosion across the playground. Birds scattered from the trees. The sound rang through the glass windows of the classrooms. Parents in the pickup line screamed. Coach Ramirez flinched but didn't stop shielding the girls. A small circle of smoke curled from the gun's barrel. Karen stumbled a step back, startled by the recoil, but the wildness in her eyes didn't fade. She aimed again. Children were still fleeing, tripping, crying. Teachers frantically tried to shepherd the last few kids toward the building. Karen spotted new movement. A kindergartner bawling near the slide. A boy hiding behind a tree. A group of children crouched near the sandbox. Her fixation snapped from Araya to the rest of the playground like a predator scanning for prey. This whole place, she muttered, is out of control. Her hand jerked violently, swinging the gun in wide, terrifying arcs. You, Will, listen. She stepped onto the soft mulch, boots crushing the playground sand, eyes darting with unhinged focus. Stop running, she shouted. Stop running or I swear. But the children ran faster. They screamed louder. Because now, Karen looked like she wanted to hurt any child in her path. Coach Ramirez whispered to the girls under him, Stay down. Don't move. They nodded, both shaking uncontrollably. Meanwhile, across the school building, the office staff had hit the lockdown alarm. Doors slammed. Metal shutters rolled down. Lights flicked off. The school went into full emergency mode. And outside, Karen roamed the playground like a storm unleashed. Aiden, a brave 11-year-old boy who had been practicing for his baseball game, saw an angle and tried to distract her. He picked up the kickball and hurled it as hard as he could. It smacked into Karen's shoulder. She spun around violently. Who did that? Aiden froze. The red rubber ball rolled at Karen's feet. For a second, her face twisted into something inhuman. You think this is a game? She screeched. She raised the gun at him. Aiden dropped to his knees, hands raised. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Too late, Karen growled. But before she could fire, the school janitor, Mr. Harris, a tall, broad-shouldered man with years of weightlifting behind him, rushed her from behind and grabbed her wrist. Drop the gun, Karen. She screamed like a wild animal. Let go of me. They struggled. The gun swung wildly. The barrel pointed into the sky, into the concrete, toward the classrooms. Another shot fired. Bang! It hit the metal slide, sparking against the steel. Kids screamed. Mr. Harris held on with all his force. Drop it, he yelled. Karen kicked him in the shin. You can't stop me. She shoved back with unnatural strength fueled by panic and madness. Mr. Harris stumbled. Karen broke free. The gun slipped, hit the mulch, but she grabbed it instantly. She aimed it at him. This neighborhood doesn't need people like you either. Her finger tightened. No. Araya screamed from the ground, but before she could shoot, a loud command split the air. Police, drop your weapon. Karen froze. For the first time, fear flickered in her eyes. Blue and red lights flashed across the playground. Multiple officers poured through the school gate, weapons drawn, bulletproof vests glinting. The first officer shouted again, Karen Johnson, drop the gun or we will fire. Another officer moved to the side, blocking Karen's escape route. A third one rushed behind the maintenance shed. They surrounded her in a triangle formation. Karen's breath came in harsh, ragged gasps. She backed up toward the swings, toward the exact spot where her hatred first spilled out that morning. Her eyes darted from one officer to the next. I wasn't doing anything, she shouted. You're overreacting. These kids, they needed discipline. Drop the weapon. No, she screamed. You can't tell me what to do. You never listen. None of you listen. Araya watched from the ground, shaking uncontrollably as officers closed in. Layla gripped her hand tightly. Coach Ramirez kept shielding them with his body. Karen's voice cracked into a shriek. I'm not the problem. They are. Her finger twitched. That was enough. 3 officers rushed her at once. One tackled her lower body. One grabbed her arms. One wrestled the gun from her grasp. Karen screamed and kicked, but within seconds, she was pinned, handcuffed, disarmed, and the entire playground fell into stunned, trembling silence. Araya stared at Karen being dragged away, screaming curses and incoherent rants. Layla whispered, voice barely audible, You're safe now. But Araya didn't feel safe. Not yet, because even though the gun was gone and Karen was finally restrained, the emotional wound she left behind, on Araya, on the other children, on the entire community, was only just beginning to show. Sirens wailed in the background as Karen's screams faded into the distance, swallowed by the chaos still rippling through the playground. Police shoved her into the back of a patrol car, her face twisted with fury and delusion. But while the danger had passed, the shock hung thick in the air. Like a fog, no one could escape. Teachers were gathering children, calming their tears, checking for injuries. Parents rushed in from the parking lot, some crying, some yelling, all terrified. But amidst all this movement, Araya didn't move. She was still on the ground, half sitting, half leaning into Coach Ramirez's protective arm. Her chest heaved with shallow breaths. Her eyes stared blankly at the empty space where Karen had been standing only moments ago. The gunshot echoed again and again inside her mind. Layla kneeled beside her, gently rubbing her back. It's okay now, she's gone, you're safe. But the words felt like cotton, soft but muffled, not piercing through the shock. A paramedic rushed over. Is she hurt? No physical injury, Coach Ramirez answered, voice tight. But she's shaking. Severe shock response. The paramedic nodded and gently placed a hand on Araya's shoulder. Sweetheart, can you hear me? Araya blinked slowly, but didn't answer. Her silence scared everyone. Layla whispered, voice trembling, She's not talking, she's not even looking at me. Before the paramedic could respond, a breathless voice cried out from the school gate. Araya! Heads turned. A woman sprinted across the playground. Araya's mother. Her grocery bags had dropped somewhere near her car. She didn't even remember letting them fall. All she saw was her daughter on the ground with medical staff around her. She fell to her knees and grabbed Araya's hands. Baby? Baby, talk to me. I'm here, look at me. Araya's eyes flickered. Her lips trembled. Then she whispered a single word. Mom. Her mother broke down in tears, pulling her into the tightest hug she'd ever given. It's okay, sweetheart. I've got you. Mommy's right here. But the tremors in Araya's body didn't stop. Police officers walked over to question witnesses. Parents held onto their children. The playground that once echoed with laughter now felt like a battlefield scarred by something unimaginable. One officer approached Coach Ramirez. "You were closest to the girls during the incident?" "Yes," he said quietly. Karen aimed at them directly. "She fired once. Thank God I got them down." "Your actions saved lives today," the officer said. But Coach Ramirez didn't accept the praise. He looked at Araya, small, shaking, frightened, and said, "I just did what anyone would have done." The officer's expression darkened. "Not anyone. You stepped into the line of fire for a child. That's not nothing." Still, Ramirez's jaw stayed tight. But before they could continue, radio chatter crackled. "Copy. Officers en route to the HOA office. We found something." The officer listening to the radio froze slightly. "What do you mean, something?" "Static." A reply came through. "We found her notebook. And some disturbing entries. Looks like she'd been keeping notes on certain kids for weeks." "Which kids?" "Araya's name is on almost every page." Everyone nearby heard that. Even Araya's mother. Her face went pale. "What do you mean she had notes on my daughter?" The officer swallowed. "Ma'am, Karen wasn't acting impulsively today. She'd been planning something. And your daughter, she was her primary fixation." Araya's mother covered her mouth in horror. The twist hit everyone like another punch. Karen hadn't snapped randomly. She had targeted Araya deliberately. Suddenly, everything started making sense. The staring, the confrontation at the swing, the muttering about rules, the tracking, the rage. This wasn't just an outburst. It was an obsession. As the officer explained, a black SUV turned sharply into the school parking lot. Its tinted windows and government plates immediately drew attention. The passenger door opened, and a tall, serious-looking man stepped out. He wore a dark suit, a badge clipped to his belt, a grim expression carved into his face. Parents whispered. Teachers froze. Is he FBI? Did they call Homeland Security? Who is he? He strode across the playground with urgency, scanning the area with sharp, trained eyes. Then he saw her, Araya. His entire expression changed, from cold professionalism to raw, unmistakable fear. He ran. "Araya," he shouted. Araya's mother looked up, shocked. "Marcus?" He dropped to his knees beside them, breathing hard. "Where is she hurt? Did she get shot? What happened?" Araya slowly looked up, recognition flickering. "Dad?" He scooped her into his arms carefully, tears welling. "I got here as fast as I could. I heard the dispatch call, an active shooter at the elementary school. I thought—" He couldn't finish the sentence. His shoulders shook. This wasn't just another parent rushing in. This was a federal agent, Araya's father, who had raced from a government building when he recognized the school's address in the emergency alerts. He pulled back, slightly, brushing her hair from her face. "Sweetheart, you're safe. I'm here now." He looked at the paramedics. "She needs a full evaluation at the hospital. Shock, trauma, possible hearing damage from the gunshot." The paramedics nodded. But the moment Marcus stood, something shifted. His eyes hardened. His jaw locked. The agent inside him, the man trained to deal with danger, took over. He turned to the officers. "I need a full briefing on the suspect now." "Sir," the lead officer said, "we already have her detained." "Not good enough," Marcus snapped. "She pointed a weapon at my daughter. Tell me everything." The officer recognized him now. "Yes, Agent Coleman." Araya's mother looked at him sharply. "Marcus, please, stay with your daughter." But he couldn't. Not yet. Not until he knew everything about the woman who nearly killed their child. He placed a gentle hand on Araya's cheek. "I'll be right here. I'm not leaving the school. But I need to make sure this never happens again." His voice dropped into something cold, controlled, and terrifying. "I want every file, every complaint, every HOA record linked to her, every witness statement." The officer nodded. Araya's mother whispered, "Marcus, who did this to our child?" Marcus looked toward the police car where Karen sat, still screaming nonsense through the cracked window. A woman named Karen Johnson, the officer answered. Marcus's expression changed from shock to fury to something deeper, something dangerous. Then, "I'm not finished," he said. "A woman like that doesn't wake up one morning and decide to shoot a child. There's something else going on." The officers exchanged uneasy glances, because Marcus wasn't wrong. And the truth, the real truth, was about to blow the entire case open, a truth that no one expected, a truth that changed the entire perspective of what happened at that playground. And it would all begin when Agent Coleman asked the one question no one else had thought to ask yet. Who helped her? Agent Marcus Coleman stood tall in the middle of the destroyed playground, the wind tugging at his suit jacket, his jaw locked with a rage deeper than words. Parents whispered his name with relief. Officers made space for him instinctively. Even the air felt different around him, tight, heavy, charged. He wasn't just Araya's father. He was the man who handled federal-level threats. And someone had tried to murder his child. 2 officers approached him with files and a tablet. "Agent Coleman, we've pulled her HOA records, complaint history, community reports." Marcus raised a hand sharply. "I want everything. Start talking." The first officer swallowed. "Sir, Karen wasn't acting alone." Silence fell. Araya's mother, still kneeling beside their daughter on a medical stretcher, looked up quickly. "What do you mean, not alone?" The officer cleared his throat. "We found correspondence, messages, plans." Plans? Marcus stepped closer. Detailed plans. "Sir, this wasn't an emotional breakdown. She had targets, timelines, maps of the neighborhood." Marcus's voice dropped dangerously low. "Targets?" "Yes." The officer handed him a stack of printed screenshots. "Kids," he said quietly. "She kept records on kids." Marcus flipped the pages. Araya's name came first. Not once. Not twice. Dozens of times. Next to each entry were notes in Karen's handwriting. "Too loud. Doesn't respect rules. Plays on the swings too long. Will break the neighborhood, eventually. Must be stopped." Marcus felt a tremor in his hand. His breathing grew uneven, something that never happened to him, even during high-tension raids. His wife noticed and whispered, "Marcus, honey, breathe." But he couldn't. Not yet. Not when he turned the page and found something worse. A final note. Friday. Recess. Back of playground. No cameras. It was today. This wasn't spontaneous. It was planned. Calculated. Premeditated. This psychopath planned to hurt a child? My child? Marcus growled, voice shaking with restrained fury. The second officer stepped forward. "It gets worse. She didn't plan it alone." Marcus shot him a sharp look. "What are you telling me?" "We traced multiple messages to someone else's account. Someone giving her ideas, encouraging her anger, feeding her paranoia." "Who?" Marcus demanded. The officer hesitated, then slowly said the name. "The HOA president." A cold silence swept across the playground. Parents gasped. Teachers exchanged horrified looks. Even other officers stiffened. Araya's mother whispered, "No, that can't be right. We've known him for years." Marcus took a step forward. "Explain. Now." The officer nodded grimly. Karen sent dozens of messages to him complaining about certain families, especially those she thought were changing the neighborhood. He never told her to stop. He encouraged it. Subtly, he replied with things like, he handed Marcus a sheet. "Marcus, read the messages aloud. Some families don't belong here, Karen. Kids need discipline these days. I support people who enforce order. Do what's necessary." Marcus tightened his grip. "Do what's necessary?" This man told her that. "It appears he pushed her toward taking action," the officer confirmed. "He may not have told her to use a weapon, but he fueled everything leading up to it." A parent in the background muttered, "I knew that HOA president was rotten." Another shouted, "Arrest him too," and several nodded in agreement. But Marcus wasn't done reading. One final message sat at the bottom of the page, sent only 2 days before the shooting. If the school won't deal with them, someone else should. That was it. That was the piece that made Marcus's fury reach a level he didn't know existed. He handed the sheet back to the officer. Where is he? Still at the HOA building, the officer said, "We dispatched a unit to detain him for questioning." Marcus shook his head. That's not enough. He's more than a witness. He's an accomplice. Agent Coleman, Marcus stepped forward, his presence overwhelming. He radicalized her. He fed her delusions. He encouraged her to target children. Do you understand what kind of case this is? The officers exchanged looks. Marcus continued. This wasn't just an unstable woman snapping. This was a chain reaction, fueled by bigotry, fueled by authority abuse, fueled by someone who used his position to give her courage to act. He pointed in the direction of the HOA office. You're not just arresting Karen today. You're taking down the man who empowered her. The officers nodded. They understood now. This wasn't a simple assault. This was a hate-driven conspiracy. Meanwhile, as paramedics prepared Araya for transport to the hospital, something unexpected happened. A small boy, Aiden the baseball kid, walked over shyly holding a piece of paper. The officer tried to stop him. Son, give her space. But Araya's mother noticed him. It's okay, let him through. Aiden approached the stretcher slowly, his voice tiny. I drew this for you. He handed her a piece of notebook paper with a shaky drawing, a stick figure girl with curly hair, standing tall with a big sun above her. At the bottom, he wrote, "You are brave." For the first time since the incident, Araya blinked and looked directly at someone. She didn't speak, but her lips curved slightly. A weak, fragile smile. A sign of life returning. A sign of hope. Her mother and father both teared up. "Thank you," Marcus whispered to the boy. Aiden nodded. "My dad says brave people deserve friends. She's brave. So, we're all her friends now." And in that simple statement, in that pure, innocent truth, the entire playground softened. Teachers smiled through tears. Parents nodded. Even the officers lowered their shoulders because they all realized a child had stood up for another child in a way adults never could have planned. But justice wasn't finished. Not even close. Minutes later, police radios crackled. All units, be advised, subject located at HOA office. Attempting to flee. Marcus's eyes sharpened. "Flee," he said. The officer nodded. "He's trying to get away, Agent Coleman." Marcus stepped closer, voice dropping like thunder. "Then bring him in. Because this time, justice isn't optional." The officers hurried toward their vehicles, and as the sirens wailed again, as the HOA president panicked inside his office, as the community rallied around Araya, one thing became clear. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Justice was just beginning. And the twist that followed would shake the entire HOA and the entire town. The ambulance doors swung shut with a soft thud, and for the first time since the gunshot echoed across the playground, the world around the school finally began to slow down. Parents hugged their children tighter than they ever had. Teachers stood shaking, adrenaline still rushing through their veins. Officers taped off the scene while detectives photographed every angle of the playground. But inside the ambulance, sitting between two worried parents, was a little girl simply trying to understand why today happened. Araya lay on the stretcher, wrapped in a soft blanket, her small fingers curled around the drawing Aiden had given her. "You are brave." Her mother held one of her hands. Her father, Agent Marcus Coleman, held the other. Neither let go. The siren wailed above them. But the inside of the ambulance felt strangely quiet, like the world had muted itself for her. Araya's lips parted. "Mom, was it my fault?" Her mother's heart shattered. "No, baby. Not even close." Marcus leaned in, his voice low but steady. "Sweetheart, what happened today was because someone else was sick in their heart. Not you. Never you." Araya blinked back tears. "But she hated me." "She didn't even know you," Marcus whispered. "She didn't see your kindness, or your drawings, Or how you always help kids tie their shoes. She didn't see your heart. He gently lifted her chin. She only saw her own darkness, and she tried to throw it on you. Tears slid down Araya's cheeks. Her mother wiped them gently, and for a moment the family held each other tighter than ever. Back at the school, officers finally arrived at the HOA office, sirens blaring, lights flashing, tires screeching as they boxed in the HOA president's car. He tried to run, but Justice caught him before he got 5 steps from his door. Officers surrounded him, barking commands. Hands up! Don't move! Drop the backpack! Turn around! The HOA president froze, then slowly lifted trembling hands. Within seconds, he was handcuffed and shoved into the back of a cruiser as neighbors emerged from nearby houses, watching in stunned silence. People whispered. I always knew he was controlling. He and Karen were too close. He encouraged her. I heard him myself. For years he'd acted like a king, knocking on doors to complain about flower pots, bike noise, chalk drawings on sidewalks, kids laughing too loud. But today, everyone saw the truth. He wasn't enforcing peace. He was feeding hate, and the law finally caught up. Meanwhile, at the hospital, doctors examined Araya thoroughly, heart rate, ears from the gunshot blast, stress response, everything. She's physically stable, the doctor said gently, but emotionally she'll need time. And support. Marcus nodded. She'll get both. A nurse brought Araya a warm drink and a small stuffed bear. Araya hugged it tightly. Then came something no one expected, a knock on the hospital room door. Principal Hall, Coach Ramirez, Ms. Smith, her music teacher, Layla and her mother, and behind them, dozens of children holding handmade cards. Is she awake? Principal Hall whispered. Araya slowly sat up. Layla broke into a run and wrapped her arms around her best friend, crying hard. You scared me. Don't ever do that again. Araya hugged back weakly. I'm sorry. Ms. Smith held up a colorful poster. 20 students had drawn handprints around the borders. In the center, in big letters, it read, We stand with Araya. Araya's lips trembled. Her eyes filled. She clutched the blanket tighter. For the first time all day, she didn't feel alone. She felt loved, protected, seen. Principal Hall stepped forward. Araya, you're not just one of our students. You're the heart of this school, and we're going to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. Coach Ramirez, the man who threw himself in front of a bullet for her, spoke next. His voice cracked. You're one of the bravest kids I've ever met. You didn't deserve what happened today. None of you kids did. But I promise you we're going to rebuild this playground stronger, safer, and brighter than before. The entire room echoed with soft applause. Even Marcus, a man who rarely let emotion show, wiped the corner of his eye. Hours later, when the children left and the hospital room finally grew quiet again, Marcus sat beside the bed and spoke softly. Araya, I need to tell you something important. She looked up. You survived something terrible today. Something no child should ever face. But look around you. He gestured to the cards, the bear, the drawings, the flowers. You are not broken. You are not defeated. You are not alone. His voice dropped into a steady strength, the kind only a father could carry. One bad person tried to make you feel small, but the world around you just showed how big your heart really is. You changed people today. You woke them up. Araya swallowed. Then what happens now? Marcus took her hand. Now, justice comes full circle. Her mother nodded. And healing begins. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the city skyline, the police chief held a press conference outside the school. Flashlights clicked. News vans buzzed. Parents gathered in tight circles. The chief spoke firmly. Today, an act of violence shook our community. But because of the bravery of teachers, parents, students, and first responders, lives were saved. Then he added, and due to evidence recovered during the investigation, we have arrested 2 individuals responsible for planning and encouraging this attack. Gasps rippled across the crowd. Rest assured, he said, justice will be swift. Behind the crowd, Marcus watched silently, hand wrapped around his wife's fingers. Araya leaned into her mother's shoulder, exhausted but safe. And for the first time since the morning, the world felt like it might be okay again. As the story closes, I want every viewer, especially every parent, every teacher, every child watching, to remember this. Hate doesn't win. Fear doesn't win. Cruelty doesn't win. What wins is community. What wins is courage. What wins is standing up for someone who can't stand alone. Araya survived because people cared, because people acted, because people refused to look away. So, today, before you scroll, before you move on, tell me in the comments. Backhand index pointing right. What city are you watching from? Backhand index pointing right. And what message would you give to a child who survived something like this? Your words might comfort someone who needs it. And if you want more powerful true justice stories like this, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and be part of a community that believes in standing up for what's right. Because stories like this, they're not just stories. They're reminders. And sometimes they're wake-up calls.